Thank you. I'm so excited to talk to you because, fun fact, when the 96 Olympics, that was like
Yep.
when I was level 7, 9 years old. So it was like the beginning of everything taking off, right?
Yeah, love it.
So I used to write so many different papers on you guys on the team just because like I was so inspired by all of you. And it was like now I was just talking to my coach actually from back then. I was like, I can't believe everything's coming full circle.
That is so exciting. So where did you do gymnastics?
um, in the best days, it was called Bounders in Woodbridge.
Oh, Founder. What's
I
it
don't,
called now?
yeah, we don't, it actually
Oh,
folded. So this is,
okay.
our coach got arrested for hooking up with my teammate.
That is my,
Yeah.
it's amazing the stories that you are not privy to as a kid, but you realize the atmosphere just doesn't feel right. And then you step out of it, you become an adult, and you don't even have to become a mother to recognize how wrong it is. But yeah, that's why my husband and I started our gymnastics academy in Clarksburg, Maryland. We want to clean up that culture, and it's way too widespread. Sorry to hear that.
And I didn't plan on starting with the tough stuff,
Yeah,
but
no,
we're already in it, so we might as well keep
yeah,
going. um,
yeah.
because I've watched the Golden documentary, which is so well done. Even my fiance, it's hard to get him to watch gymnastics. He's been really into it. Um, but there was the one quote from you that like was kind of jarring to me, and I would think maybe as other gymnasts, because you said that even after all of your success, what you went through was not worth it.
No.
So can you, I mean, obviously we know kind of the overall thing of it, but like, I mean, you would really give it all up to not have to put up with what you had to put up with.
I love I love the impact that I was able to make. I love the focus of inspiring young girls and inspiring young boys. And I remember getting fan mail letters when I was very young from grandparents and moms, dads, and young boys and girls. And I loved being able to help plant that seed of someone's life to tell them that they can dream and they can accomplish big accomplishments too. However, since I have opened my doors in my gymnastics facility, it's been a full year. A number of parents have come up to me and they have, or staff, former staff members or young gymnasts, and even said that I led them to the sport of gymnastics and they had this really bad experience. And I almost felt this sense of guilt,
Yikes.
that I was inspiring people to maybe step into this sport that I maybe made seem was this great, healthy atmosphere. And yet it was full of so many wolves in sheep clothing. And so that's why I feel so compelled to have these gymnastics facilities. I have one gymnastics and ninja academy now in Clarksburg. Very excited about it. We've been open for a year and we hope to open others in the DMV area because we will assure you that your kid will have a positive and uplifting experience because I feel as if it's not about the sport, it's about the people in the sport. When I retired from the sport of gymnastics in 2000, I backed away from the sport quite a bit because I recognized even then, oh my goodness, that was such a sacrifice. It was so unhealthy. Some of the things I heard or I witnessed, I'm like, this is not a place that I see myself in any further. But I quickly realized years down the road that it's not the sport that's unhealthy, it's the people in the sport. And we need to get healthy people on the floor coaching our kids, people that are truly happy, multidimensional, and they love working with kids. It just baffles me that people would keep their kids in an environment where your kid's being put down and yelled at and treated poorly. And you need to recognize as a parent, you may think this is building a champion, but it's breaking this young person. And you're going to have to be picking up these pieces when this child is 20, 30, 40 years old from what you witnessed them go through year in and year out.
Yeah. And it's hard too because so much, and I'm sure you do the same thing. There's so much that I do and so much of my personality that I'm like, well, I'm that way because of gymnastics. It's like I was so disciplined that now I
Mm-hmm.
think everything else in my life needs to be just as disciplined. And even
Yeah.
as a coach, when I was coaching, it was like I would make a girl cry every day, but I just thought it was normal. And now I'm like, oh, I should have been nicer.
you're you're trained to believe it's normal, and that's why a number of coaches that have gotten in trouble today that are probably my age, they are coaching the way that they were coached. And they didn't think anything is wrong with it because they're like, oh no, you have to break her down and lift her back up. There was this mom that came to my preschool program, and she used to house a young girl who up and moved from the New York area and came to train at my coach's gym in Maryland. And she had said to me in my preschool space, and I'm like giving her a tour, and I'm like, yep, this is my favorite space. It's a young kid's first introduction to the sport. It's positive. And she said, Dom, I remember watching you year in and year out, how your coach used to rip you down and tear you down in hopes of building you back up. And she said, I remember somehow you would be ripped down and you would be able to climb out of that pit, and it made you maybe a better athlete. But she said the young girl that she housed, who relocated and lived with her, she would be ripped down and she would be done and stuck. And she really appreciated what I was doing and how I'm trying to do things differently, because she didn't like witnessing what I went through or what this other young girl, who's now a grown woman and a mother, went through. And people will coach, they will parent the way that their environment was that they were in. And I've made this conscious decision. I don't want to be like my parents, and I don't want to be like my coach. And so when I've stepped on the floor, and I'm not a full-time coach at my gym, when I've stepped on the floor and I'm all about being critical and nothing's good enough, and I'm going to be correction after correction, I've had to walk out of the gym and take a deep breath and say, what is this about? I'm about lifting up the self-esteem of these young kids, not tearing them down and making them believe that they're not enough. So I have to step back in. I put a smile on my face, and I remember this is a child. This is someone's child that they've entrusted me and my staff with, and I am to lift them up and not try to damage them. And that really is what the sport has taught all of us at such a young age.
Well, I mean, I know you opened, was it in the middle of COVID or right before it happened?
Oh, middle of COVID. It's
Okay.
July of 2020. We were supposed to open in April, and then everything shut down in this world in March. And somehow my construction, the equipment was still coming. And I was like, how is that possible? Like, they're still working, but yet we're all supposed to stay home. Like, my husband and I and the 4 kids were driving up to the gym multiple times a week. And we were like, isn't this illegal? Like, we're not supposed to leave our home, but yet we have a landlord and a construction crew right there waiting for us. So we do feel as if it was a blessing to be able to open. It was scary times. It still is scary times. But parents have thanked us.
How many of these parents are big fans of you growing up? They were like, oh my God, my kids are going to Dominique Dawes.
A good amount of the parents or grandparents are fans. The kids are like, who are you? Right. I mean, and then the fact that I'm wearing a mask a lot, I mean, we wear masks there. Many of the parents don't even recognize me. And it's funny how many people will chat with me, or I'll give a tour, or I've just been there, and they leave out and then they recognize that it was me somehow. Someone told them. Or they've been coming to my program for months and months. I'm there. They didn't realize it was me. And then they flip out when they find out. But it's definitely the older crew, my age, that know me. But the kids, they'll read about me in history books and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk about the Olympics, even though obviously behind the scenes you were going through all kinds of crap, but you went 3 times. So you were putting up with it for a long time.
Yeah.
So what was the best moment? If you could relive one moment, is it putting the medal on your neck? Is it sticking whatever your favorite or hardest routine? I mean, what was the moment that was like, this is why I'm here?
I think a lot of those moments would be the moments where I was thanking the fans. They don't recognize how much they meant to me throughout my career and helping me stick it out. I always wanted to quit. It's a very challenging sport, as you know. I wanted to quit all the time, but I always remember that I could inspire the next generation, that I could plant a positive seed in someone else's life. So it would be those moments where I was thanking the fans and saying farewell to the fans. But I will say in 1992, I had an opportunity to meet the dream team, and that was Magic Johnson, Drexler, Karl Malone, Magic Jordan, and that John Stockton even. And so Larry Bird, I mean, there's so many amazing names that myself and my teammates got to get on the bus and meet them when they came to the Olympic Village for accreditation. Charles Barkley, I spent many days with him in the PT training room. We were both always injured, and just kind of hearing his wit and his sense of humor was, quite just quite taken back by that as a 15-year-old child. But I would say it was really the moments in the Olympic Village. That was the one time of my 3 Olympics we stayed in the Olympic Village, and it felt as if it wasn't just about a job, but it was actually about being a part of something bigger than myself, a part of a community in the Olympic family. And so those are some special moments that I wish I had many more of.
So you always hear about the Olympic Village being like a bunch of hookups, but I've never thought about it where there's kids there, right? So wait, how is it separated? How are there hookups and kids going on?
Yeah, I think I hope I'm not throwing her under the bus, but like Hope Solo, didn't she speak about that? And I guess when that all came out about what was maybe going on at the Olympic Village that young teenage gymnasts were not privy to, at the 1992 Olympic Games in Barcelona, Spain, there were a lot of parties, a lot of fireworks, a lot of drinking. We could hear it late at night. That after that, USA Gymnastics made the decision that gymnasts are no longer staying in the Olympic Village. And that might be why in 1996, we did not. We stayed at a frat house at Emory University, and all we did was just eat, sleep, flip, and do nothing more. And then in 2000, we stayed in Sydney at a all-girls school home, and we were off the location of the Olympics. So you don't feel as if you're a part of the movement. You don't go to opening ceremonies. You don't go to closing ceremonies. And so you have this big lifelong sacrifice as a child. And at the end of the rainbow, you're waiting for this great, party, and it just doesn't happen as you envision it to happen. But I do think for these young girls at these Olympic Games, I hope it's a more positive and fruitful experience. It is an honor to represent your country, but there should be that ability to be a part of the Olympic movement as well.
Yeah, I didn't realize that the gymnasts never go to the opening ceremony until Simone talked about it the other day.
Oh, she did. I didn't know. Oh, yeah.
So, and I'm like, wait, I would think be the coolest moment. And it's all because you guys compete, 2 days later, or?
We compete soon after. I think the male gymnasts compete prior to us, but I would love to be a part of, I don't know if you have to be on the board of USOC or influential with the IOC, but they need to set the date of the opening ceremonies literally maybe 4 days before the start of the Olympic Games. The athletes are already there, they're training. Allow all of the athletes that have made this lifelong commitment to be a part of that amazing celebration. And so if they could set the date of opening ceremonies a few days earlier, gymnasts could partake in this. And I remember they didn't want us to be a part of it because they're like, oh, you're going to be tired. I'm thinking, I've trained 36 plus hours a week in the gym. We wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you're thinking I'm going to get tired of walking and then standing in this heat and celebrating with these other athletes. I will assure you, I will not. But they don't want to take the risk, which I get, because it's all about, making history and getting on top of the podium. But I do want to be a part of some organization that changes the date of opening ceremonies so that gymnasts can participate in it.
Yeah, please, especially since it's one of the main sports of the Olympics.
Yeah. It's like one of the most popular Olympic sports, especially for the summer games. So it's a shame that we're not able to be a part of it.
Yeah. So I got to ask you, because you were the first Black female gymnast to get a gold medal, right? So how is it now seeing Simone? I mean, Simone's the face of not even just gymnastics. She's the face of the Olympics this year.
She very much is. Now, I always want to give applause to Gabby Douglas, 2012 all-around champion. What she did in London, unreal. I was in the audience working with the .com company at that time. She was not expected to win gold, and what she did was spectacular. And I don't know why we don't see more of that young girl. She's amazing. Also going to a second Olympic Games, and then now Simone, she won in 2016 and is more than likely going to dominate. She is human. She can make a few mistakes, but more than likely going to dominate during these Olympic Games. And I can't be prouder of that young girl. Lori Hernandez's achievements, being a part of the hum community, young women of color are really taking over in the sport of gymnastics. And I love it because it's going to have other little young girls and boys that maybe didn't see the sport of gymnastics as an opportunity for them to shine bright. But that's why I care about changing the culture, because what I don't want to do is have myself, Gabby, Simone, Sunili, Lori Hernandez lead people to a sport and it's full of a broken culture. That's problematic. And that's what's been heartbreaking for me as a mom of four kids, is a number of parents and young people saying they didn't have a positive experience. They were treated poorly, and we need to change that.
Yeah. And I also noticed too that it's like it's an older group of girls this time too, which I love to see.
How is that possible? Like my last Olympics, I was 23 and on like arthritic medication and like taking injections for something and asking if I could sleep longer. And they were like, no. But 24, from Michaela Skinner, who we followed in this Golden docuseries that I'm a part of, I'm the executive producer of, along with LeBron James. Michaela Skinner is 24. We didn't follow Simone because she has her own thing going on. She's 24 years old. And then there's maybe one 19-year-old, I think maybe Suni Lee, I think 19. But oh my gosh, that's insane that they can physically and emotionally still do the sport of gymnastics. And then let's not forget Oksana Chusovitina. I was on 3 Olympic teams with this young lady. This is her 8th Olympics. I'm 40, almost gonna be 45. She's like 46. And that she's still doing top level gymnastics. I don't know why. I mean, I think if you have a love for something, hopefully she's able to make a living from it. But it's insane the longevity of gymnasts these days. And kudos to them. I'm just thankful my body didn't give out yet at 44.
Right. Also, I always forget the name that you just said that I will never even try to say.
Nope.
She's gone through so many generations of rules. Like all the rules have changed so many times. How is she even keeping up with that?
Well, it's funny because we have this minimum age limit for the sport of gymnastics. Have we thought about a max? Like, I don't think we never thought that someone would go beyond the age of like probably 24. But she's again 46 and she's still competing at the top of her game. It is unreal to think of. And I look forward to watching her at these Olympic Games.
Well, if you ever allow me to come in, I keep saying, as long as I can do a full round off full on floor, then I'll feel good about myself. Once I lose that, then I'm going to be upset.
I've lost it. The other day I had an appearance at a boys and girls club and I was like going to bust out like a cartwheel back handspring, literally went through a mental block and just did cartwheels. And they were like, yeah. And I'm like, you clearly don't know how basic that is. But yeah, I think I'm going to keep my back handspring. I need to work on my back tuck, probably in a free foam pit or something, but I'm kind of done. I'm really done.
The back handspring hurts me too much. My body can't handle it.
The jarring motion, it's a lot on your body.
I know. I have the mental block with flyaways though. I keep saying like before I die, I have to do one more flyaway for whatever reason.
And then you like hit the bar and then be like regretting it.
Yeah. Well, the last time I did it, I like flung off and almost hit the wall. So it was like,
Well, come to my gym and you can do it into a free foam pit. So it won't be as painful hitting a wall.
But thank you so much for chatting with me. This is a dream come true for little me and very cool to have you on, especially during the Olympics. Is there one message that you would give any Olympians? You know, we have the girls competing technically tomorrow morning. What's the message you give them before they compete?
You are more than just an Olympian. It's not even about preparation for the Olympics. It's not even about trying to get their mind right. They're physically, they're emotionally, they're mentally ready. But I want them to remember that this is not the end. This is not the destination, that there's more amazing chapters to your life that will be so much more grandiose and fruitful and fulfilling, and that will lead to lifelong happiness. I think what these young girls are going through is tough because they think that this is the end, and I want to remind them that it's not the end. It's actually part of the beginning.
That is a whole nother thing we could be getting into if we had more time, because I know not just Olympians, but so many professional sports athletes just like go through a crisis after it's done. And I can't even imagine what that's like either, for sure.
Yeah, it's tough on athletes because the crowd stops cheering, but you have to recognize that there is a crowd around you, and it may be your future spouse someday, or for me, it's my 4 kids. And then it's no longer about pleasing the outside world that I maybe don't even know intimately well. But it's about my family and my close friends that truly know and love and respect me, and I know and love and respect them.